Hi, I'm Cody Anderson, one of the pastors at Parker United Methodist Church. On Sunday, we started a new sermon series called Countercultural, and it will be our stewardship series for this year. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, another stewardship series. Why do we always have to talk about stewardship, especially with our time and our money and our talents? Why do we always have to keep coming back to this? Well, I think it's kind of simple. Those three areas in our lives are the ones that often get imbalanced. When we're thinking about our relationship with God, when we're thinking about following Jesus, Jesus has this way of calling us for transformation. Transformation that will bring abundant life for not only ourselves, but for others, for the world. And yet, a lot of times we hold on to these three things. Our time is very precious to us, right? It gets so full. Our calendars sometimes feel like they're bursting. And so to try to squeeze in something else, even if it's a prayer time or a devotion or a little bit of worship, feels like a big stretch for us. And then there's our finances, right? We're told that we're supposed to give as we have been given to, but that's a really big ask. And a lot of times our money is stretched thin. So to think about what we should be doing with our financial gifts, thinking it through the lens of following Jesus is really difficult. And then there's our gifts, our talents. A lot of us feel like, I don't really know if I have any gifts and talents that would be helpful for others. And so we have to keep being reminded of who we are and how we can help serve others. So the first week of this countercultural series, we invited our youth to share some of their thoughts. And I think it's really important for us to start off with our youth because when we are young, it feels like we're trying to figure out who we are, right? We're being influenced by our peers, by culture, by what we're seeing in the world around us. Think about when you were a teenager. And how did you respond to the world around you? How did you respond to people in your lives who maybe were telling you, hey, we should do this, and you knew you probably shouldn't, but you did it anyway? And I think we often think that stage of our lives is gone, but the reality is that we all fall into that trap, right? We all fall into the trap of doing what the culture around us does, trying not to create any waves, trying to maybe get that power or status that others around us have, maybe trying to look a certain way in people's eyes. And so we kind of conform into what our culture says that we should be. In Romans chapter 12, in the New Revised Standard Edition, the NRSV, we hear these words in verses 1 and 2. And I think they're familiar words for us. Paul writes, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, on the basis of God's mercy, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable act of worship. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Present yourselves as a living sacrifice. Some of that terminology can be a little scary, right? It can be a little bit hard for us to grasp. And we've heard these words before, but sometimes hearing it through a different lens is helpful. And so this Sunday we heard it from Eugene Peterson's version, The Message, and I want to read it to you again so that maybe you can grab something else from it. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what He wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. That different translation, just those different words, can really help us grasp this deeper meaning that God has for us. I think if we look around our culture, we can understand how it can bring us into a different way of living. And not just the hustle and bustle of our lives, right? But the ratcheted up anger towards one another, the feeling of not having enough, that scarcity mindset, that feeling of others are getting more than what I deserve, or I need to look like I have it all together, not only financially with a new car or a great house, but I also need to look like I have it all together just in my life, right? Like my kids aren't fighting. They're the best angels ever, and they're getting the best grades, and we're doing all the things we're supposed to be doing. And it's so easy to get caught up in our culture. And one of the things that we learned on our mission trip was the simple act of pausing, of taking a step back and just being still. What does that feel like for you to just be still? To go outside and to just breathe in the air, or to see the birds flying around, watching the leaves transform as they do this time of the year, going from these beautiful shades of green into yellows and oranges and reds. Being able to pause, to be able to take a step back from our society and to be connected into something that's bigger is so crucial for us. It's crucial for our minds and our spirits to be able to find that calm, that connection with God. But it's also crucial for us to be able to listen to God more closely. See, when we're running around, when we're trying to keep up, when our schedules are jam-packed, we often lose sight of God or God's voice in us. But just that simple act of taking a step back, pausing, just becoming aware of life around you can really help you to hear God's voice, can help you to fix your attention to God. So as we start off this month together, trying to think about what it means to be countercultural, I encourage you to take a step back, take a pause, and find that quiet, noticing the things around you, noticing the gifts that God has given to you, paying attention to the ways of generosity that are present in your life. And as you begin to fix your attention to God, I encourage you to take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, your eating, your going to work and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. setting aside your time, setting apart yourself, and leaning into that love and grace that God has for you. Paul's words are, embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for God. So pay attention. Pay attention to the way that God is speaking in our world, the way that God is giving to us generously, providing for us. And pay attention to how you might be able to be transformed into something that is completely different from the world around us. Transformed into love and goodness and kindness and generosity. How you might be able to be a part of something greater and bring goodness and love into the world.